Hey everyone, my name is Danny. Looking through my current job situation description, I work in Dodge City. I'm in my second year teaching physical education. I have about 350 students over 15 classes. I see all the kids every day, so it's pretty chaotic from start to finish. We have a high percentage of Hispanic students, and most of those kids are high poverty, where they're receiving free and reduced lunch. And a large majority of our kids are English language learners. District wide through Dodge City, there's 9 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 1 high school. The statistics are a little bit lower in some of the areas that I discussed as far as the ELL students as you get up to the high school, middle school. Um, but again, there's a high percentage of impoverished and at risk families in our school district that we cater to. Teaching adjustments for the school year thus far. Um, we've continued in-person learning. Um, to this point, I think it's widely across our community considered that the kids are some of the things that they deal with at home in those at-risk situations in those families, that even regardless of some risk being in person, a lot of those kids are going to be out and about with their friends at times anyway. That I think our district has kind of taken the stance that they're no more at risk safety wise, being in school, and probably actually in a better position to learn something and also get away from some of the risks that they are seeing at home. So um, there is a remote option available. But like I said, even the community has kind of embraced that um, the remote option isn't a great option in just with our demographic and some of the things that the kids that we cater to are dealing with. Physical education considerations for me, we have to clean all the equipment, so we can't use bean bags, but I can use a basketball where I can easily wipe it down. Assigned seating where they're 6 feet apart, spread out, and I can control who they're around to an extent through contact tracing and some of that stuff. It's easier with that assigned seating. Masks are required when not performing physical activity. And again, we keep the classes separate through those assigned seats. Looking at some of the material we discussed or covered this week, all students can learn something regardless of who they are or what they know. They can learn something from you. So I think it's important to keep that growth mindset. Teacher collaboration, I completely agree with. And just like all the students can learn something from us, we can all learn something from someone else. So reaching out to other people and picking their minds is huge, especially for me as a relatively new teacher. Having mentorship in place is huge. Happiness and optimism. In our building and across our district, we really stress positive reinforcement, and that happiness and optimism, kind of a positive outlook on everything is huge. And like they mentioned, those things should come before, if your heart is in the right spot, should really come before successful teaching. The dispositions, confidence and risk taker, decisive. I think those kind of go hand in hand for a leader. Being able to pull the trigger and make a decision and be confident in that decision, and not necessarily care what everyone else thinks if it's what's best for everyone. It doesn't have to be popular. Sense of humor. I think being able to laugh is huge. Laughing at yourself. And bringing humor to a room definitely changes how other people see you. I'm going to move on. But again, I completely agree with the other dispositions that they discussed. I kind of already discussed learner, always learning something. Practices, focus, and prioritizing. Again, completely agree with that. Being able to look at a list of things that have to be done and saying, okay, this is what we need to put our effort and energy into, so you don't get sidetracked and get turn into a yes man, where you're trying to get everything done and then nothing gets done. Examining feedback and data, looking at what your school needs and what your students need through that data is huge. So you can push the school and the students further than they have been pushed before. And then emotional intelligence, making people feel safe and valued is key to keeping a good learning environment. The principles, um, personal courage, public interest ahead of self control, discipline, integrity, and then task and employee centeredness. I think, again, I agree with every single one of those being key to being an ethical leader in education. Being able to step up and do what's right, regardless of whether it's popular or not, I think is a huge thing. You get down to self control and discipline, integrity. Those are all key to building trust and mutual respect among students and staff members. But you're also leading by example. And then the employee centeredness, being able to say, okay, this is best for our staff members, which is then thus better for our students. Keeping what their challenges are in mind is huge. Continuing on with that, recognizing talent. It allows you to put people in positions to flourish, which is best for the building, best for students, best for staff. Skip down to inclusiveness and kind of sensitivity and understanding goes kind of hand in hand with that, actually, in my mind. Being able to understand where people are coming from, include others. It's best for the community to move all in one direction, working together. If you look at me, getting to or starting to think about some of the things that we read about over this, you can see my strengths listed. I'm going to touch on my areas for improvement that I need to always look at. Positive reinforcement. I get caught up in getting after the kids that are a little squirrely in the back, spinning around, not paying attention, instead of complimenting little Johnny that's sitting in the front doing what he's supposed to. Confidence goes with decisiveness. I overanalyze things a lot. And then teacher collaboration. I get caught up a little bit too much in waiting until I have a question to go pick somebody's mind. And you can see that on here, stronger mentorship versus only asking questions as they come up. Having those meetings set up is huge, where I can get all those questions answered. And already talked about some of those things above. How does all this support the educational success and well-being of each student and adult? Creates a positive learning environment to push higher level thinking for everyone. One of the things we learned at Sterling College was servant leadership. And I've always had the idea that I'm not going to do or ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do myself or do to the best of my capability. I think having that mentality allows everyone else to follow along with you. You can see my standard, my statements on those. I thought this was good material. Some of it I kind of took for granted that I've seen it all before, but it's always a good reminder to see some of those things. Reference pages. And that's it.